Hello everyone, my name is GarretOakamber, and forgive my incredibly cracky voice. I have just woken up and decided to get on Diablo. I also had an incredibly fun night with a friend laughing about stupid things, so I'm probably not in top shape just for talking, but I had a great night, so it was nice. I'm here to talk about the state of affairs with the Diablo 3 Necromancer, who has been released, and I've been testing it out. Originally, I was going to showcase the release, but I decided against that. And the only reason I decided against that was really just because I was banking on the season starting out beforehand. I did not keep up with as much information as I should have. So I didn't know, or at least I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but I didn't know that the Necromancer was not going to be released during the start of the season. I guess they wanted to make sure last-minute preparations were in way to make sure this character was ready for actual release. So instead of doing it during seasons, which Blizzard considers the most important thing in the world, I don't really agree with them, but whatever. I only see seasons as a way of getting pets and rewards, that's about it. But the Necromancer was released early, and... no, I didn't mean to grab that. Well, that's better than the yellow. Let's just grab that. Okay. So, yeah, essentially, Necromancer was not released on the date of the actual season. And this means that there's been a lot of time to test out builds and things like that, and so far I have settled on a very similar build to the one I was using during the beta. I will be including this video in with my beta series because this is a state of affairs when it comes to this character and this class and how it's evolved. Again, I went into the beta very much blind. I mean, knowing a few things about the Necromancer and utilizing that to its maximum effect. But this character has been formed by my own knowledge of how the abilities work, the gems work, and all that stuff, and the items work, so it's exactly the same build except for the Hellfire Amulet. So what I was talking about is that this build here has been developed over time. I should probably empty my inventory. Sorry for that jump cut there, but I didn't expect a few of those. I'm having trouble talking as it is. And this character build is working out really nicely. Is it the best build in the world? Probably not, but it is going to serve its purpose. I'm able to do comfortably a Rift 70, but I will say the weakest thing about most of the builds, period, for the Necromancer is its toughness. It's I mean, I've got 30 million toughness, and that increases drastically as I use this Blood Rush. But that's nice. Too bad it sucks. Yeah, it's just it's a battle of attrition because despite having the power to kill something, my character is incredibly flimsy, and there is no way around that for most of these builds. For this build in particular, it works, it definitely works. You've got Bane of the Stricken, which constantly deals more and more damage to enemies and bosses. I have the nope, that's not it. The Bone Ringer, which constantly deals more and more damage to enemies and bosses. So my command skeletons are the most important thing. And the reason it's still cold damage, even though I'm not trying to bank on frost damage, I'm still banking on frost damage for that powerful CC, which does play into the Enforcer and Bane of the Trapped, which I'm still not sure Bane of the Trapped is the best thing I could be equipping, but I've done away with my cooldown reduction because ultimately Army of the Dead's going to come up whether or not I want it to. It's not the primary ability. The primary ability is Command Skeletons. This is more of a crowd control, get out of my face. This is the secondary one, which also gives me armor. So I've utilized this build in a way that makes the most benefit out of the skeletons, including the skeletal mages. And you're probably wondering why. Well, I did it again. Why are you using Bone Ringer as opposed to the other thing that makes your skeleton mages hit harder? The problem is the skeleton mages you have to have essence for those. And if you die once, all your skeleton mages are gone. You need your Rathma bonus to stack. If you don't have that stack, then what are your command skeletons doing? Yeah, you always have command skeletons, but that in itself is a deceiving maneuver. You absolutely need your command skeletons to be hitting as hard as they can possibly hit. So even when you don't have skeletal mages, if you've dealt damage to that enemy before with your skeleton army, then essentially you're going to continue to deal a lot more damage than you normally would. That's just how it is put. So skeleton mages they're powerful, but they're an additive. Sorry, I was again having problems with my voice. But yeah, the skeleton mages are not the bread and butter of this build. I'm gonna die. As you can see there, even able to murder things with little indiscretion. I mean, this build does have its own issues. It's very powerful though, and that's the thing. Like, it's such a powerful build, but mostly for single target. Everything else here is designed to negate some of the aggression from the enemies, is meant to distract, is meant to just add on to the command skeletons. And there are many variations of the pet build currently, but this one I like the best, and I've developed it myself. I did not look up guides for it, whether or not it's being as optimal as possible. Most people are like, oh, you need Frenzy. Frenzy is the best thing that your skeletons can have. The problem is then you don't make use of this very powerful ring. And what Kisben's Sentence does is that it will triple the damage bonus, which for me is 94%, which is not bad. The increased damage bonus is 94%, so you times that by 3. That's a lot. And whenever they're frozen, or stunned in this case, because I also am using a stun. I'm no longer using the slow because I realized that I wasn't getting the full benefit of it. It was only proccing during the freezing. Now it's proccing during the stun effect and the freezing. And I don't know if that stacks unto itself. I don't think it does. But the very fact is, as long as they are under the effect of a stun or a freeze, they are taking an incredible amount of damage. So I'm pretty happy about this build. It does an egregious amount of damage, and it does a lot of damage really fast. It's almost marrying the Witch Doctor's attack speed pet build with the new Necromancer abilities. And I don't want to compare this class to Witch Doctor, because they're completely different. They play completely different. But I'm comparing how you would normally build into the attack speed build with the right amount of CC. The only difference is there's no cleaving, and that's something I think the Witch Doctor does superior over the Necromancer. He's having cleave effects with their spells and abilities and minions. What the Necromancer is capable of doing is reaching attack speed levels that pet build could never possibly fathom. And on top of that, you add in the damage, you add in all the bonuses. That's ultimately why they gave us Kisben's Sentence, is to add a little extra punch to CC builds. Again, Bane of the Trapped is pulling some weight here. I heard somewhere that Freeze does not count for Bane of the Trapped. So that bonus is only being applied during the stun effect, which is, again, I mean, the slow and the stun are the same thing to Bane of the Trapped, but it's still applying more than if it was normally. That's nothing. That's nothing. But yeah, these items work well, and I got really unlucky. Like, I've been so lucky, I should say, with most of my little loot adventures, and this was the first character ever that I got no ancients on. I had to work hard to get this and this, and this I don't think is best in slot, but it's helping me out to some degree. In fact, it might be best in slot for this build, only because of the knockback and stun effects, immunity. I'm sure there's better things. The Nemesis Bracers would have made it easier to push to 70. The problem with that was trying to survive long enough to actually be able to you know, get past everything. And yeah, it's difficult to say the least when everything one-shots you, especially creatures that can just jump onto you directly. They ignore your minions, they go straight for you. So you have those little angel guys with the claws, you have leapers, things like that. Those are the bane of the existence of this build. And despite my skeletons being able to freeze something in midair, it doesn't ultimately come down to, hey, you're going to survive this. So yeah, otherwise, I mean, this is a powerful build against Rift bosses, Rift Guardians. This is probably the superior Necromancer build for that. I just need the items to really make it stick. In a group, my job is to DPS the boss down when my other companions are unable to, or at the very least completely apply a static, you know, push in damage. And whenever my convention of elements hits, you know, frost or physical, I mean, we got the physical damage, so I'm getting a bonus on that. But then frost, it's this. So it's a two-part element build that's murdering the crap. These are inconsequential, but you need them. You need them. I needed the Blood Rush. One of my friends recommended I get Blood Rush instead of Revive. Revive was, I was using it for a while, and it was really powerful. The problem was you can't control the Revive minions, and you're utilizing more essence than you're actually gaining. So, despite having lots of minions, we're talking about tons of them, it was not enough. That's 37 minions. You have 10 skeleton mages, and then you had 10 additional revive minions, plus the 7 skeletons. That's 37, but numbers mean nothing when you can't survive, so switching out to Blood Rush was a good idea. The armor rating one is the best potency. And then, of course, you need Devour. You absolutely need Devour. I mean, there's moments where I don't need to use it at all, but the fact that it restores 3% of my health per cast is so useful. And I've switched over to Rathma's Shield just to give myself a little bit extra survivability. And I was only able to do that. Because I found a Hellfire Amulet that was not only ancient, but had Commander of the Risen Dead as a passive. It rolled spectacular for what it is. I mean, even though the intelligence is a little bit meh, it gave me a 20% more damage to cold. As you can see, I have Enterprise off that, so that's 40% additional damage on top of everything. And the Vitality rolled pretty good. I won't say that's awful. That's decent. It gave me lightning resistance, which I desperately needed, so it's like the game realized that I was suffering when it came to lightning resistances. So, yeah, this build is working. I don't know if Witching Hour is best in slot, but that critical hit damage is pretty freaking sweet. Yeah, so it's a hard-hitting build, and I'm enjoying the Necromancer. I think when the season launches, I will be doing a series on this, at least a small series, probably, you know, again to 70. Don't expect like crazy guides or anything, because I'm probably not the best person to talk to. I do sometimes follow the mainstream and, you know, adopt builds that really work, but for the most part I like tinkering around, and this is, I would say, a success for tinkering. It is very powerful, but the Necromancer has many different builds, and this is just one out of 100,000 of them I'm sure are going to pop up in the following weeks and months, especially when they change some of the items around. They're going to be nerfing the pet build a little bit. They're going to be nerfing the... I think what they said was Rathma's Shield here. There's an exploit with that, and I'm not using the exploit. I'm doing this for command skeletons, so I probably will not, as to quote one of my friends, feel the effects of that. But they're going to be nerfing this a little bit, and then they're going to be hard nerfing some of the individual items and the Bone Storm build, which apparently right now everyone's doing that because it has the most defensibility. It looks like a good build. Unfortunately, they made it superior to everything else. I don't think they should hard nerf it necessarily. I think they should fix what's wrong with Rathma's Shield, or change this ability completely. You don't necessarily need to not lose life. That's tempting, but it's not the greatest thing we have. I think they should take this ability out and replace it with something else completely. That's my honest opinion. And then I think for the Bone Storm build, they should end up, because I mean this build is incredibly powerful. They should more or less keep it the way it is, but buff the other builds individually to some degree to match up. Take the things that make them broken, and then put other shit onto them. I think that would be useful. If you were to take away the broken bits and then just replace them with other things, make the other builds up to par. Like maybe, I don't know, with this build here, leave this the way it is. Don't touch it. But add a new effect to the 2-set bonus for Jetheth's Skull Scythe. Say like, I don't know, on top of everything, it'll say, if you are using Rathma's full 6-piece bonus. I don't care about the logistics of, oh, you're using a little Ring of Rogue Ranger or not. If you have the 6-piece bonus, every skeletal mage also increases your resilience, your toughness, your damage reduction by a 5% or something, and you gain so much life per second. That would be a nice compromise. Anyways, I'm gonna end this episode here. I think I've said everything I need to say, and my voice really hurts. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more of the Necromancer, if you'd like to hear more about my Diablo 3 musings, please leave a comment, tell me about it, and check out my Diablo 3 Necromancer beta series. So I'll see you later.